What is going on, guys? This is Aaron. I'm going to be reading from some notes here, so if you see me reading from my phone, that's why. Anyways, this video is just going to be like a E39 update. I had recorded this a few other times, but there was a fuck ton of wind noise. I did a walk around in the car and showed some stuff that I was talking about, but as a preface, my car's timing guides went out. That's why you guys haven't seen much stuff from the car in the past month. Me and my wife, or my wife and I, depending on you grammar Nazis out there, my wife and I took our anniversary on March 20th, and the car was shipped off to a guy's shop. And I was going to say a buddy shop. He's not a buddy, but it was shipped off to a local shop that had previously done work on this car before that I was satisfied with. They originally were just going to rebuild the rear, like rear control arms, differential bushings, stuff like that. And then I do believe it was around 2 to 3 days before that appointment was to happen, my timing guides went on the car. So I reached out to them and asked them if they were able to do the timing guides. They said yes. And then I had got a phone call back where when they quoted me the labor, the tech, his exact words were, "I've never seen book time this high for a timing job before." And I should have just took that as a red flag, because it means he's never done it before. So I'm kind of at fault for this situation myself. They have the car. My time frame to get the car back, I told them I'm going to be out of town from the 20th to the 25th, and I need my car back by the 25th. I did not have my car back by the 25th at all. I had no update on my car the entire time I was out of town. They didn't reach out to me or anything like that. So I actually reached out to them and I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And I was told I didn't get to it yet. I didn't even get to it. So I was a little disappointed in the fact that it's been almost a week and they didn't even touch my car when they knew my timeline. And then there was a couple other things that came about. I'm trying to think here without having to look at my phone too much, and then it came about that I was missing some components whenever they started doing the tear down on the rear of the car. Or was it the rear? No, whenever they started doing the tear down for the timing assembly on the front, some old BMW plastic had broke, which was fine. They couldn't actually get the part through any of their providers, so I had to order the part, which then put the car behind another week. So that second week is kind of no one's fault. It added time. So now I'm out without my car 2 weeks. And then again, I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit. So long story short, it took me a month to get my car back for something that book time was 22 hours worth of work. There was other stuff added on top of that. Like I said, the rear of the car was being refreshed, etc. But to kind of touch base as to what were happening here, I was quoted, I do believe it was $23.96 for the timing job, and then $6.80 for the refresh on the rear. That quote also included tie rod assembly, front driver's side tie rod, and an alignment on the vehicle. The timing job, I had also purchased upper chains for the vehicle that were not used. They didn't tell me. They're just like, "Hey, we didn't use these upper chains because you didn't have the timing, or didn't have the upper guides as well." But they didn't even contact me to offer me to purchase the kits for the uppers. I had purchased a kit from FCP Euro that I thought was complete. It was not complete. So I have these parts. This is upper chains that weren't used. I have this limb forwarder tie rod that was not used. And now my car is not aligned like I wanted it. That was the whole purpose, because I had put new tires and actually raised the vehicle since they last worked on this car. So I wanted it realigned. And my steering wheel sits like this. It's super crooked ever since I did that. So, but now I'm just going to read from the notes just to try to cover the bases here. So there was a few parts that went bad on the car. Whenever they did the timing job, whenever they did the timing job, they had wrapped it up and said, "Hey, your car's done. It's ready to be picked up." And I started to head to the shop to pick up the car. There was something that happened in the process of that. The camshaft position sensor went out. Their excuse was there was exposed wiring. I've never seen any exposed wiring in the car outside of the headlights that are kind of bunk, I'm not going to lie. Their So I agreed to pay that price, which I do believe was $130. So whenever they first called me, my running total was $31.86 after a couple other parts that were added that they did call me about. After that sensor that I agreed to was $3,312. That was my final tally. And that was the last thing that I was contacted about, that I was told of. And then I was phoned a couple of days later saying, hey, we're still having an issue. Or actually, they didn't call me, I called them. This has been a constant thing. Like, I reach out to them, they don't call me. But, so, I reached out to them, and they said they were having issues, and they were going to have a diagnostics person come out and look at it, like a person that actually has the software to read this car, to come out and look at it. And so they came out, and there was a few parts that actually wound up going bad that I did not find out about. So they were having issues saying they couldn't get it running, they couldn't get it running, they couldn't get it running. And then he reached out and said something to me about a camshaft solenoid being bad. And I kind of went off on him, and I don't really feel bad for going off, because as a consumer, I used to work at a shop, right? So it's not that I think they're trying to scam me or they're not. Ultimately, I don't know, right? So, but if you're inside the engine and I'm paying you to do something, and there's something that's like literally right here that was working prior to you touching it, now it's not working. As a consumer, I believe that should be taken care of on your end, right? And at my shop that I worked at, that's how we operated. So I kind of expressed that to them. They actually took care of that camshaft solenoid. Actually, no, they didn't. I have a bill for it. That was $160. So I paid for that solenoid, and then I got a call on a Monday last week. I do believe it was the 9th, April 8th, April 9th. And they said, that's the day he told me that they're having somebody come out and look at the car to try to diagnose it, see what's going on. And I'm losing my track, guys. I'm sorry, but they came out. He told me to give me a call back in a few hours after they look at it, which he did. I was driving. So I put him on speaker, and I was presented with good news, bad news. The good news is your car is running. The bad news is it's now $3,800 plus. Now, the last agreed dollar amount that I had agreed to was $3,312. So my bill went up over $500 without my approval, which if you look up on the Attorney General's website, that's illegal. You know, and so at that point, I was like, man, what the fuck's going on? And I did make a Facebook post kind of logging everything, and I'm a member of a couple of BMW groups, and this whole time I didn't name the dude's shop, I didn't name anyone in person, because I feel like that's wrong, you know, because some people really might like this shop and so forth, but that's just not what I do. So, and people are like, dude, it sounds like they're screwing you, because for these parts to go bad, something had to get shorted, especially if they were working beforehand. And this shop, every time they called me, it was like, hey, this is bad. Hey, this is bad. No, hey, now this is bad. You know, and they were just kind of throwing parts at a problem. And they did take pictures of my engine when it was torn apart, and they said, hey, your engine's kind of, it's worn out. You know, what do you want to do? But the only option they had given me at the time was another engine for, I think it was 150,000 miles, which is 10,000 less than this, for $2,300, which, and at that time I still would have had to do the timing guides on it just as preemptive, which would be, I'd be in the car $4,500, you know, so it's still not worth it. But anyways, all of this kind of got drug out and very annoying, and people in that Facebook comment thread were like, dude, they're screwing you. And that was the predominant thing, was like, dude, they're screwing you. And it just kind of was eating away at me, right? And so when they finally said, hey, your car is ready, come get it, I said, fuck it. I paid the $3,800, because at the end of the day, if I'm not satisfied with the work and I really think it's shoddy, I can just file a dispute with the FTC and talk to my credit card company and get that money back. That's not an issue. So the day I get the car back, within an hour, I drive it home. I put my kids in the car. My wife gets in the car, and we go to the store. Within 5 minutes of getting down the road, drive shaft bolts come out and just fucking leave me stranded for almost 2.5 hours. And I just got this car from the shop. While it was in there, they pulled the rear diff and they replaced all the bushings, diff related. So the front one, the front carrier bushing that's attached to the subframe, and then the 2 actual differential bushings on the rear. So someone took out that drive shaft. And whenever I called the shop, the owner was like, oh shit, but he covered it. You know, he didn't even try to dispute it. He's like, I'll pay for the tow truck. Here's their number, blah, blah, blah. You know, and I feel like that's just because that's potential lawsuit. Like if that would have happened on the highway and I got in a wreck, that's a bigger problem. But the whole time, you know, like I've been taking pictures and adding it to this group, right? This Facebook group chat. And he's been taking pictures or saving the conversations I'm having, intentionally trying to catch me slipping, I guess. So he already has a negative mindset, I guess, in dealing with me whenever I've only shared my personal experience in this journey, right? I've used them before. I didn't have a problem before, but it's like this situation, I feel like they bit off more than they could chew, especially given some things that I found after I picked the car up. And it's getting warm in here, guys. I'm sorry. I'm going to roll these windows down. Holy fuck. But there was some issues that came about after I picked my car up. My AC just kicked on. One of those being, and I'll talk to you here in a second, one of those being, oh shit, we're in view here. Holy fuck. Sorry, guys. One of those things being, they zip tied a fuel line in the back to a random different line that they actually removed. They pulled the clip out for that line and zip tied it, and it was actually rubbing my wheel. I have a picture of that I'll put up in the video too, so you can see that. It actually rubbed straight through the fuel line. The only good thing is that fuel line is not being used, so that's a good thing. But there is also the retaining clip on their rear driver side tire. If you're in Europe, it'd be the rear left. The rear left side, that clip was so loose that I could bend it with, I could just take it off with my hand. So I took it off with my hand, used channel locks and a couple of pliers to bend it back straight and put it on. There is a grinding also coming from that wheel, which I assume is my e-brake cable, my emergency brake cable, because the mechanic did say he cut it, like removed it, like had to cut it because he couldn't unbolt it. So that could be in there. That could just be stuff that's stuck. I don't know. There is also, they put the brake rotors on backwards on the rear because I have slotted rotors, not slotted, I have drilled rotors, and they're supposed to kind of cut into the wind, right? That's the right way to do it. But they were put back on kind of hot boy status, so essentially they're backwards. So they're put on the wrong sides. So I got to take them off and put them on. And then I'm still getting this weird kind of tick and grind from the differential area. And I really don't know. And there's also a fuck ton of smoke coming out whenever I start the car. Whenever I went to pick up the car after the drive shaft bolts were situated, the car was smoking so bad that people thought my car was on fire. Like, people ran out of the business complex to make sure my car wasn't on fire. It was bad. I also have a clip of that I'll put in right here. So all in all, it's like the experience as a whole just wasn't great. And the word lawsuit did come up on my end, but it was on my Instagram post talking to one of my buddies. And again, I didn't name him. I was like, hey, I'm just documenting everything. I'm going to have a shop, another shop, like a third party, verify the work. And if it comes up that it's fishy, I was like, I'm going to talk to a lawyer. And in between that, I'm jumping back and forth, but that post happened while they were looking at the car from the smoking. And then when I had also replied back saying I got $100, it says he's going to call me back and say it's something else, not involved with blah, 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 right? And so he calls me, and the first thing he says is, hey, it's not something we did. And I just said, oh, okay, just like that. Okay. And he immediately went, if you think you're going to fucking sue me, You better step correct. That was his exact words. Now, keep in mind, this solution, I expressed my disinterest or whatever about how the situation is being handled poorly. I have oil leaks on my car now that I didn't have before, and I have proof of that. I've parked my car in the same spot for 5 years at my house, and I've never had an oil leak. After they've touched it, I have an oil leak. You know, so it's kind of easy to spot that. And he's like, well, it's coming from your drain plug. Never had an issue with that before. And there's fucking, I mean, look at my goddamn driveway, dude. So it's just kind of, it's little things, right? And he just kind of is being a dick about it. Instead of just fixing the situation, he wants to be a dick. But he had a BMW tech. Again, he throws names out there in 20 years and 10 years and stuff, and it's people I don't know, that I'm not familiar with. I just don't know. When it comes to these engines, I'm not going to lie, I am ignorant to a point, and I don't deny that. But for me, I just really don't like the fact that I feel like I was being taken advantage of. But that BMW tech that he had come look at it, he says that it's my CCV system, or that's what it is, CCV, PCV. Because it's white smoke on startup. My engine was dirty. They cleaned it, so there is kind of oil gunk that's being swashed around. So, and they did tell me, and they were honest about this. They're like, it is going to puff blue smoke, you know, from time to time, getting that gunk out. That's fine. But again, this was like fucking on fire. It's what it looked like, except it's white. So, this master tech that he had come out said it's CCV. So, the little diaphragm that goes out on the back of these intakes is 20 bucks. He could have just been a baller and just been like, hey, I'm tired of dealing with this guy. I've had nothing but problems. I'm just going to toss this $20 diaphragm in there and call it a day. But instead, he just jumps to, if you're going to fucking sue me, you need to come correct. Now, this situation, I feel like I handled this situation great. I didn't name his shop publicly. I didn't name him publicly. I didn't name his mechanic publicly. And I don't feel like that's right. But as a consumer, I have every legal right to express my experience or my feelings with my experience with this company. You know, and that's just how I am. If people privately ask me, where'd you go? I answer the question because that's my right, you know. So, but for words like libel and slander to kind of be thrown around, and he's not the one that said it. He did not say, I'm going to sue you for libel or slander. He did not say that, but other people are trying to say it and trying to warn me. But all he said is he's saving documentation on his end, which he has every right to do. You know, he's trying to protect his business, which I get. But as a consumer, I feel like I got my car back in worse shape. Yes, you installed some of the parts. They only did half my timing job. And this video is running long. We're at 17 minutes. I'm sorry. He only installed half the timing job. Again, the kit that I bought wasn't complete, but they also didn't make an effort to try to sell me the rest of the kit. So there's just little things. I feel like I was kind of not really taken advantage of, but they were just like, fuck this, you know. It shit happens, you know, and this is my second bad experience with a local BMW shop, and it's really kind of off-putting because whenever I get these bad experiences, they're like, we don't want your car to come back here because they think I'm the bad person. The first situation, I took my car to get a control arm put on and an alignment done. The guy outsourced the alignment, and that shop lied to him and told him the alignment was done. But when I got the car, it was still pulling like a motherfucker, like it was when I took it there. And so he actually made it right. He was like, hey, I'm just going to refund you everything. He's like, I'm going to refund you for the labor on the control arm. I'm going to refund you for the price on the alignment. But it also was kind of backhanded with, but don't bring your car back here. You know, it's like, what do you do? It's like, if your shop has a bad experience, you can't blame that on me. You know, it's all around. I feel like I handled the situation pretty great, especially given everything that's happened with my car after the fact, with stuff not being done. It is fucking hot. I'm sorry, guys. With everything not really being done correctly, I guess you could say, because brake retaining clips being loose to where I could take them off with a hand. That's a problem. Emergency cables being cut to where stuff's still grinding in the fucking hub. That's a problem. You know, I don't know. Like, I really don't know what to do. Like, I'm not the, I'm gonna sue you guy. Like, I never have been. You know, we could settle the fucking situations close. Even if he would have been like, hey, I'm just gonna knock off like 500 bucks off your bill. Get you back down to that 33 that we agreed to. Fine. I'm cool with that. You know, but It's just stupid shit, you know. And the fact that he did upcharge me $500 by throwing parts on, and then expecting me to pay for them without being talked to about authorizing that amount first, that's kind of dickish, and it's actually illegal. It's actually, if you look up the Texas Attorney General under auto repair, that's actually illegal. But either way, guys, thanks for watching. This was a long video, it was a rant, and I apologize. In the course of this video, I'll just have random walk-arounds and pictures of the car. A lot of the pictures you would have seen before, but you don't always just want to sit here and see a chubby white guy talking to you having a heat stroke in a car. But thanks for watching, guys. The car is back. I'm just not really sure on the driving situation, if it's something that I want to risk doing, you know, just because it doesn't sound, the clicking coming from the back sounds pretty bad. It's like a grind, and I don't know what it is. But thanks for hanging. I appreciate everyone that takes time to stop by and watch this video. Have a good day.